I'm Gail McCoy. I live here in Sun Prairie. I spent a long career of almost 30 years teaching school, and when I retired I decided I'd like to try some art because I had always wanted to be an artist but couldn't do that given I was busy with teaching and family. I retired 11 years ago and I took studio watercolor classes each week with a great instructor, Marianne Inman, in Madison. So I learned a lot about watercolor. I started selling watercolors in a gallery in Mineral Point. I was enjoying it, but I just never felt it was my artistic voice. Everybody is painting flowers and landscapes, and although I was doing a good job at it, it didn't feel unique and different. Then 6 years ago, I learned about this technique of making paper out of National Geographic magazine. And I gave it a go. I fell in love with the process, and this is what I've developed so that I could use the paper. The paper is the most important part of the art because it's going to drive what the finished product is. I'm using National Geographic magazine. That is the only magazine that works for the process. And specific years work best for me. So 2000 to 2010 are the years that I'm always on the lookout. Fortunately, I have friends who will email me and say they have found some, so I'm always looking for those years. But I will go through a magazine and I will tear out all the advertisements. I'll tear out pages that I know are not going to make good color for me. And then I'll take my paintbrush with a solvent. And the solvent is non-toxic, totally organic. It's the squeezed, liquefied part of the pith of an orange. And I'll paint it on each page from front to back. I'll let the magazine sit for a few minutes and then open it up, and the paper will have transformed into a very pattern and color that you see when you look at the background here on this piece. Nature inspires me. We do a lot of hiking and traveling. Art museums are always a good place to recharge batteries. Gustav Klimt is a favorite of mine, and when you look at the type of paper that I'm making, it's reminiscent of how his patterning and intricacy went together on his paintings. Universally, cranes are iconic symbols for commitment. They mate for life, longevity, peace, healing, hope. I have 8 large pieces in the American Center Hospital, mainly because of the symbolism of cranes and healing and health. Personally, I do it because some years back I was having a really rough time, and that summer there were 3 sandhills who would come every day, land in the yard. It was like an omen: hang in there, things are going to get better. Well, things are terrific now, so when I put the cranes in, it's a chance for me to give gratitude, and hopefully when it goes to someone's house, it takes a good energy with it. So this is where I'll have a sheet, or backgrounds rather, glued on the piece. Just imagine this without any details, but only background at this point. And I will lay out paper that I think could possibly work for a moon, and I cut that out circular. This is always hard to find because I like nice large moons. They've become a signature look in my pieces, but finding a large area with all the color that I need takes a lot of time looking. The next step is to add the cranes. I make the cranes with scissors. I cut their bodies from the National Geographic white margins. The beaks, head details, and legs are also cut from the magazine. Then I'll place them and move them around and try and decide how I want them to be. Once I've decided on my composition, I look for paper that I'll use for the grass. Again, this is going to be from National Geographic, and I'll be cutting out from this. And then the glue is applied and the piece is laid in. A final step is using tissue paper, which is archival. So it's museum quality and the color won't fade. It is white when I buy it, but I apply watercolor to it, and then I cut out the sections that I want to use. and apply glue to them and just lay them in on the piece. Whenever it's possible, I like to put in what's called a sweet spot, where some of the words did not dissolve in the process. Sometimes you'll find partial images of things. I have an art minor, but I'm not so technical that I am running by rules. It's all instinctive. And whatever is feeling right, then I stop. And it tends to be less rather than more. I do sell work at Plum Bottom Gallery up in Door County. I also sell work at Santa Fe Gallery in Cedarburg. Currently, there's a nice exhibit at the Sun Prairie Library, which please do stop in and see. You'll see some of the new work I'm doing called the Woodland Series, which features birch trees along with the cranes. When we go to Florida, we typically sell in the Naples area. So if you are a snowbird and want to stop in, just check my website, Gail McCoy Art. I do list where I am for shows.